Notice CP06A. This is the notification that the IRS is requesting additional supporting documentation based on your advanced premium tax credit payment. So this looks very similar to CP06. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. But I've seen some other documentation on other websites that show that this might be a slightly different form, and you might receive it under different circumstances. So we'll try to walk through what we think might be different about this notice in case you receive this instead of CP06. So as usual, I'll point your attention to two things at the top of the form before we get too far into it. So on the upper right-hand side, you'll see the notice, CP06A. There's the tax year. In this case, it's 2018. The notice date, followed by Social Security number and other information. Probably the most important thing up here is the notice date, because if there's any requested action, such as sending in supporting documentation, then the due date on that usually is tied to the notice date. So you might see something in a notice like, please respond within 30 days of this notice date. Please, you have until 60 days after the notice date to complete this action. They're talking about the notice date that's posted up here. So we'll take a look real quick just to see right here. Be sure to respond within 30 days from the date of this notice, right? So that's right there. I'll also point your attention on the left-hand side of the notice. So this is the taxpayer name, address, to include city, state, and zip code. If your address has changed since you last filed a tax return, you may consider filing a change of address notice with the IRS. So that would be IRS Form 8822, or for business owners, IRS Form 8822-B. Now, normally your address gets updated whenever you file a new tax return with your updated address. But if you are receiving IRS correspondence, then you want to make sure that you receive that correspondence as quickly as possible, particularly if you have an action item that's due, as is the case here. So make sure that you keep your address up to date. You can we'll put links in the show notes to some of the resources on how to do that. So the IRS in this notice is saying that we're auditing your tax return. You claim to basically someone in your household shows that you received advanced premium tax payment. So the IRS is looking to make sure that you have the right documentation. So in that case, IRS Form 8962, you may need to either file that or update it with your tax record. You may need to provide copies of IRS Form 1095A, 1095B, or 1095C, whichever one is appropriate for you. You may need to also complete IRS Form 14950, which is the premium tax credit verification. So you would mail or fax all of this documentation, again, within 30 days of the notice. There's an 800 number for the IRS to call if you need to discuss other options. So if you don't do anything, then the IRS will send you an audit report that shows that they're making changes to your tax return. Generally speaking, that would probably include an additional tax for repaying any advanced premium tax credit. So the premium tax credit can be paid in advance, and then you would claim it on your tax return, and you would just not owe money on that credit that you previously claimed. So the next steps, once you submit your documentation, the IRS will review it. It should take about 30 days for them to do that, and then they'll close out your audit if the information supports your tax return. If not, the IRS should send an audit report that says all the things that they're going to change to include any additional tax. So you can send your response by mail, courier, priority service, such as like FedEx or UPS. But do be careful of any delivery methods that require a signature, because it will take that much longer for the IRS to process it. So you can mail it in your own envelope. So just use the address on the response form to mail your package if you need an additional envelope. We can take a look at this notice page. Has the exact same one as CP06. There's also additional documentation about taxpayer rights during an audit. There's the taxpayer advocate service. So if you need help and you believe that the taxpayer advocate service should be helping you, you can either call the IRS or the taxpayer advocate. You can visit their website, or you can file IRS form 911 to request assistance. And we'll put links to that resource in the show notes. There's not a whole lot of additional information. On the back is the stub that contains the address for if you're going to complete everything and mail it back to the IRS, this would be the address that you use. So be sure to use the address on that to get it to the right office. And then there's one more thing about low income taxpayer clinics. There are a couple of links here so you can find out whether or not you're entitled as a low income taxpayer for additional assistance from the IRS, from a system that's operated so it would be pro bono work from an accountant or enrolled agent, some other not-for-profit tax organization, so that they can put taxpayers in touch with professionals that may be able to help them at no cost. So let's take a quick look at this page, the CP06 notice. There's not a whole lot of additional resources that we didn't already discuss. So there are a couple of frequently asked questions like, why did the IRS audit me? What do I need to send? So you can use this to get some good information. You can also see if what your tax transcript looks like, which is basically your tax record. You can either do that online or file IRS form 4506-T. That way, if there's something about your IRS correspondence that doesn't make sense, they may be referring to past actions or your tax account from a prior tax year. So it's always good whenever you're in the middle of that audit process to just understand your whole tax picture going back multiple years. So we'll put links in the show notes if you need to request a tax transcript, IRS form 4506-T. So I think that covers everything about this form in our video. So again, if you receive CP06A, this basically means that the IRS is looking for supporting documentation so that they can maintain your advanced premium tax credit. So do respond within 30 days, do provide the requested documentation. And if you have any questions or comments, or if there's a topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comment section. Thank you very much and have a great day.